Hey, family. Welcome to Keep It Raw. My name is Ravel. Thank you for coming. If you haven't subscribed, remember, make sure you subscribe. And if you have subscribed, make sure you hit that notification. So continue to come back with me. But today I want to dive into this because this is some serious stuff. And a lot of the relationship channels in this hour and 2024 is going to get worse. It's going to be like a reality show. Just stirring up mud, a lot of foolishness. But relationships, I've been reminded to turn people back to God. I'm not here because of the will of the flesh, the will of man, but by God. And I was reminded to draw people back to God because relationships is a spiritual issue. It's not just the physical. We focus a lot in on the carnal and on the physical, but it's more spiritual. It's a spiritual connection. And sometimes that connection is good if it's by God, and if it's bad, it's a connection by the devil. And so today I want to deal with one of the biggest issues, lust. And lust is the devil's spirit of worship that mimic the spiritual worship that's created in us to worship God. So when we think of lust, most people think of men and they think of sex. And lust covers a lot more than what you realize, because some people lust for money, they lust for power, they lust after their job. So anything that you worship becomes, if it's not towards God, it becomes towards the devil, and it's lust. So don't forget that. Lust is the spirit of the devil form of worship. And so whatever your heart is after, that's where your treasures are. And so that's what Christ came saying, man can't serve two masters. God wants you to love him with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. And see how that works? So you have a righteous way of seeking God, and then you have a evil way that's given over to lust and to things that's like a golden calf that take you away from God. So relationships. So keep that in mind. James 1:14-16 say, but every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust have conceived, it brings forth sin. I want you to understand that, because every man, and that means every woman too, there's nobody exempt. Even Papa and Mama and people you highly respect, they are tempted. And so every man is tempted. That means the situation come where you have a choice to make, whether to partake of or to reject it. So everybody have that temptation. And that's every man and woman. When he is tempted, he is drawn away of his own lust. So he's drawn to it. See, because you're going to draw to it or you're going to draw away from it. And it's not somebody else's lust. It said it's drawn away of his own lust. It's your own desires. And the devil is bringing those things to you that you may internally desire, to see if you would take it, so he can draw you away into his deception to worship that and worship him. And so once you're drawn away of your lust, it's enticed. So you enticed by it. That means you're giving your mind and your thoughts to it. You preoccupied with it. And then when you get into that place, it says, then when lust have conceived, that means it have found lodging in you. It have found a home in you. It have conceived, it bring forth sins. So don't forget that, 1 James 14. But so there's four parts to, I'm like, bro, man, that's four parts to lust. That's the temptation, that's the drawn away, that's the enticement, then that's the conception of it before it becomes sin. So keep that in mind. And so the root of lust is selfishness, ego, and lack of self-control. No matter what form it come in, whether it be work, whether it be sex, whether it be material things, whether it be shopping, whatever it is, it's your golden calf, and it's because of selfishness, ego, and your lack of self-control. But what I want to do is dive into the word to give you a shocking story of lust and how it led to murder. And King David, the man that was after God's own heart, that man that was a shepherd, and God saw almost looking at like a son to him. And the same David that killed Goliath, a warrior when he was just a little something. But now he's a king of Israel. He done won many battles, many victories for God. And here it is in 2 Samuel 11. I'm going to run through some of this. He had just come off a big major victory. And in verse 2, 2 Samuel 11:2, and it came to pass in the evening time that David rose from his bed and walked up on the roof of his house. And from the roof, he saw a woman washing herself. And the woman was very beautiful to look upon. Now, see the temptation, that goes step one. He could have been there to worship. He could have been there to thank God for the victory, but he was on his roof about evening time, and there was Bathsheba, a very beautiful woman, washing herself. And of course, David began to look and see what was going on there. And so, see, now you have see the steps, the tempting. He's been tempted. Now he's drawn away because she was beautiful to look upon. And David sent, now this is when the step is going left. And David sent and inquired after the woman. Now you see the enticement. He's enticed. That goes step 3. He's enticed. He sent somebody to ask about the woman, the wife of Uriah. Now he's aware that this is somebody's wife. But now he done allowed the lust to take over him. And David sent messengers. Now this is another step he's taking. And David sent messengers and took her. Now see how it conceived? Lust have conceived. And she came in unto him, and he lay with her. And so he ended up impregnated Bathsheba. Now, see how the steps of lust went? Those 4 steps, it's going to always be present when you're looking at lust, whether it be yourself or someone else. Those 4 steps is there. You're tempted. You respond to the temptation the wrong way. You're drawn away by it. You're now enticed. And in addition to being enticed, you're now conceived. You allow it to find place in you. You have owned up to it. And you are taking hold of it, and you're now being guided by it. Now, this is what happened to David. He sent for Uriah's wife, Bathsheba. He was watching her body. He was looking at her. Now, she didn't know he was looking at her, but the devil had set it up just right. And so he has set up the temptation. Keep that in mind. And so in the course of time, so he told his servant to put her husband on the front line, just after he found out that he had impregnated her wife. And he had tried to set him up in other ways by telling Uriah to go, you can take a break and go home and be with your wife and so forth. And he said, not so, my Lord. I'm not going to go and lay up with my wife and eat good while the other soldiers are at war and they preparing for war and they laying out in the field. He said, not so. I'm going to stay with them. And so his plan didn't work. By sending him home, he figured if he went home, he would have sex with his wife, and then that can be covered up. And there's a lot of people out there got kids by somebody, and they not your kids. And that devil have covered that up. And a lot of times, if you look at God, he'll uncover it. And so all by lust. And so the bottom line is his plan didn't work. So when plan 1 didn't work, the devil was giving him another plan. Whenever you deal with lust, it's always under control by the devil, and you are always going to be the subject. You're going to always be the slave. You're not in control of it. You're not in control. You are actually the slave to the lust if you take that first step and allow it to conceive. And so Uriah, his plan didn't work, so his second plan was to put him out there and put him on the front line, and it worked. He got killed. And so he went on with it and allowed Uriah to be killed just to cover up what he had done. Now, mind you, this was a man after God's heart. This was a man that was highly favored by God. And so remember, it said every man is tempted. It don't matter who they are. It don't matter what position they are. And some people think, oh, I would never think so-and-so would do that. It's nobody exempt. Nobody. I don't care what position of authority they have, how ranking, how much you respect that person. Everybody is tempted. Now, how they respond to it is differently. And again, that can be with money, that can be with sex, that can be with whatever your golden calf is. People are tempted by lust. And that lust is connected to you, what you desire, what you like. It's just like ice cream. If you like ice cream and you don't resist that, you're going to put forth that effort to get it, and you're going to take hold of it so you can eat it. And that's just the way lust works. So you have to check your own desires, not somebody else's. And so anyway, he set Uriah up. And so when she had heard about that her husband had been killed in verse 26, and when the wife of Uriah heard that her husband had been killed, she mourned for her husband. And when the morning was past, David sent and fetched her to his house, and she became his wife and bare him a son. But the thing that David did greatly displeased the Lord. Now, he's killed this man, had him set up, and now he took her as his wife the moment she stopped grieving. And God was very displeased with this. And so the Lord sent the prophet Nathan to talk to David. And Nathan told David the story of a man that was rich, and they lived in the same city, and there was a poor man there. They had one little lamb, and this rich man had much herd and so forth. And he said, but the man that was rich went and took the little lamb from this little poor man who had cared after this lamb. He had made it grow up with him and looked after it like a person would a daughter that had great love for this lamb. And this rich man came and took that lamb. And David was angry. He said, this man is deserving of death for doing such as that. And Nathan said, thou art that man. You're that man. Because you took his one little lamb. You could have had any woman you want, but you took his one lamb. And so it wasn't because David couldn't have. Lust don't want to do things the right way. It's want to do the wrong way. That's a part of it. It have nothing. So there's people out there that love the thought of taking somebody else's wife intentionally. Love the thought of taking somebody else's woman intentionally. That is evil. Now, people that give over to lust, it can lead to murder. It can lead to all type of things. And sometimes it takes God to uncover it, because when you're in the spirit of God, he'll point out certain things. And so we have to let the past be gone and move forward and leave all of this foolishness alone. So a lot of people are connected through lust, and they think it's a connection through God, but it's a connection through lust. And that feeling that you have when you just grind it down that you can't live without this person, that's lust. That's not how the Spirit of God and his love work. And some people say, well, they love a person, but they love them for themselves. That's a difference. When you love a person, you want the best for them, whether they with you or without you. And it'll grieve you if you can't have them. But when you get so full of yourself and that person is you or nobody, and some people talk about a soul tie. A soul tie is nothing but a devil lie. Let me say that again. A soul tie is a devil lie. And so you feel like, oh, I really feel this person. They feel me. And both of them are wrong if living in lust. And that's two people that probably should never be in the same city, should never be in the same building, and God forbid the same bed. And so that connection is there, and it feels strong like you never felt it before, because it's devil power. And so you feel connected by your own lust, and the devil had connected you with a person that got a similar lust, and it seemed magical. But you don't get along, and there's a lot of other issues there. And you fight, you fuss, you hate that person on Monday and Tuesday, you love them Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and you think this is all great. And somebody asks you, how's it going? Oh yeah, it's going good. And then the next 2 days, it's not going good. You hate their guts. And so that's what they call a soul tie. It's not a soul tie. It's a devil lie. That's not love. It's nothing but lust. And you tied in that knot because you allow it to conceive. And so you have to come out of all of this. And so he said in Matthew 5, but I say to you that whosoever look upon a woman to lust after her, remember, it have to be that action, to lust after her, or that desire to do something about it, to lust after her, have committed adultery with her already in his heart. And so some people say, what is the lusting of the heart? That means you see someone or something and you have a desire to take hold of that, even though you know it's not right. You still desire to take hold of that. So even before you put forth the effort, the intent is there. It's an intent. So it's lusting after her. So that's an intention that continues after the just general look, because there's nothing wrong with seeing beautiful people, but that extra look, that extra desire, that extra thought of what I'm going to do or willing to do after that. That's what he means by lusting. You have already lust in your heart. And so keep this in mind. The flesh lusts against the spirit. So your flesh want what it want. And so you have some people that's very successful and they lust after money. They got millions of dollars and they want more. They don't care about anything else but get more money. That's the same lust. Some people are attracted to lustful people, whether it's sexually, whether it's financially, whether it's in many different ways. It's this person that's going after their golden calf. And some people love that. They call it ambition. And that's not what God called it, though. Did you know that? That's not the way God intended for us to be. Did you know that? Some people never heard that. That's not the way Jesus was. That's not what we're being measured by. We're being measured by the hunger we have for God. Well, it says, what should it profit a man if he gains the whole world and lose his own soul? So all of that is wasted time. It's wasted time. So again, relationships have to be directed and led by God. So I'm going to ask you to bring it back and look at not the other person, but I want you to look at your own lust. What is it that's drawing your attention, that's keeping you so focused and drawn to? Something that's a golden calf to you. Is it your kids? Is it your new car? Is it your looks, that you look real pretty and or handsome and you think, oh, I'm all of that? Lust is not just sex. And so in relationships, you have to get right, your spirit right. And the Lord will lead you to someone with the spirit that's right. And when you're tempted, you know to go to God and pray and get the help you need. So Ephesians say, put off the old man, and which is corrupt according to deceitful lusts. And so the old man, our natural flesh, want to reach out to that lust because this is something that connect to us. It's not somebody else's lust, it's your own lust. So you have to begin to deal with your own lust and your own desires because the old man is corrupt according to deceitful lust. So that deception is there, that deceit is there to try to obtain the things you want and not get caught. And so that's why you have a lot of stuff going on. And David tried to do that. He tried to, he did have sex with her, and then he tried to cover it up. And she ended up pregnant, and he tried to cover it up by hoping he would have went back and had sex with his wife, and he would have thought it was his kid. But when he refused to go back to his wife, because he was a good man, had a good heart, David set him up to be killed, and God saw that. And he didn't like that, and he dealt with David. And so the Bible tells us we have to be renewed in the spirit of our mind. And so the mind had to be renewed, because if it's not, it's going to constantly reach for what you want. And I heard a person years ago said, freedom is getting what I want, when I want, how I want. That's freedom. That's absolutely not freedom, because that means that selfishness is there, that ego is there, that lack of self-control is there. And we live in an hour where everybody is going after the imagination of their own heart. And if you're going to have a successful relationship, it's spiritual warfare. You're going to have to begin to pray that your spirit is right and God bless you to be with somebody with a like spirit. That's why he don't want you to be unequally yoked. The weapons of our warfare is not carnal, but spirit. And that spiritual warfare and that love and faith in God help us tear down the strongholds. And so thank God that he spared David. David was his servant. God still loved him. He forgave him. But David had a lot of problems coming forth. But he's still viewed as an apple of God's eye because of God's mercy. So keep that in mind. We have to get rid of it, put it behind us, the corruption, deceitful lust, and start looking to God. But I hope this helped you some. But remember, lust is the devil's spirit of worship.